Let the people come in. You gotta let the people come in. All right. Come one, come all, come many. Come one, come all, come many. Hey, what's up? Thank you. All right. I'm trying to get I'm trying to share it over to what's the place called? Twitter. It's not doing what I needed to do. Hey. Hello. Hello. People get in the building. Oh, that is too cute. Thank you. Hello.
Ah, there we go.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing well. We're a few minutes early. I like to come on and give people time to get into the room.
You're still at my Hello Kitty. It's a Hello Kitty horoscope.
Okay. Cool. So are you into astrology?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a Scorpio.
Okay. I'm a Gemini.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
No, I was watching this TikTok the other day, and it was like, what's the worst sign? And everybody said a Gemini. So I was like,
I mean, isn't Tyrese a Gemini?
I want to say he's a May one though. Like he's different.
Yeah, Scorpios are the best. Everybody who knows.
Absolutely. I've got my favorite cousin is a Scorpio. And my uncle's a Scorpio as well. So I've got a few in my family.
See, and we're the best. We keep things interesting, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So we're at time. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started. But first and foremost, I do want to thank you for, first of all, accepting my interview request. And just showing up, because you could be anywhere, but you decided to be here with me. So thank you.
Well, thank you for letting me do my first interview with you.
Absolutely. I believe everybody knows who you are. But in the event that someone is scrolling, would you mind introducing yourself and just giving us a little bit about you, who you are, and what your background is in?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I'm attorney Angela D. Williams. I was on the YSL trial. I represented Rodalius Ryan. I was the quiet one. Because as you could tell, if you were watching, you could tell like nobody ever really mentioned his name. So I had no reason to keep getting up. And then of course when he took his plea, I was not there. So that just sucks.
Well, the people want to know where you was at, because we saw water and an island. I said my girl is on the boat. So where did you go?
Right. Okay. So I planned this cruise in July of 2023. Right. And I was under the impression the state said it would only take like 6 months. And I was like, okay, worst case scenario, this should be over by like July 2024. If we start in January, we should be good.
I think we all have the same look. I think we still have the same look every day.
Right? Because I just knew that the trial would be over by the end of October because it was my birthday. So I was like, yay, let me go on this cruise. I was in the islands. It was fun, but I just had, Ryan in the back of my head.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
It had to be, and I won't get too much into the YSL questions, but I know it had to be a bittersweet moment to get the call and to know that a deal had been reached. How did it make you feel while you were on your trip?
So, because I was out of the country and I'm cheap, I didn't know until I got back to the boat and I had like 100 messages. I was like, that's more than normal. It's not even my birthday. I was like, oh no, what happened? And then everybody's like, oh, he took a plea. I was like, whoa, okay, what happened? And so, I would have liked to be the one to have been there to, tell the judge who he was, tell the world who he was, because everybody has an idea, but they don't really know who he was.
Okay. We're gonna hold off on that for just a moment. We're gonna back up a little bit.
And just birthday wishes, everybody. Thank you. Sorry.
No. Please engage. So again, just backing up just a little bit. What inspired you to pursue a career in law?
Okay, so honestly, I have a special needs son, and just trying to work the education system was difficult. And I was like, I don't understand why you have to almost be a lawyer just to understand how to get him all the services he needed. And that's what actually made me want to go to law school, to kind of do education law. I was like, I'm never going to go to a courtroom. I wanted to do like maybe Social Security or something, or compliance. I did not want to do criminal. And then I took a class and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe the criminal justice system is like this. I didn't know it was that corrupt. I didn't know like a lot of the reasons for the criminal laws that we have. When I found out, it pissed me off. It did piss me off. And I was like, yeah, I'm still not going to do that criminal stuff though, because that's crazy. And then my first job out of law school was a legal assistant for somebody. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, can you look at this murder case? I was like, oh, sure. And then I was intrigued. I was putting pieces together. I was drafting a memos for her. She was like, you should do criminal. This is really good. And then she was like, you need to work at the public defender's office because you need to get some trial experience and then you can come back. And then I went in the public defender's office and then COVID happened.
Oh.
Right. Right. So I was like, okay, well, I like it. I love meeting the clients. I love hearing their stories because you just hear like their crimes and you're like, oh, that defines a person. And that's not true. Yeah. Like everybody has a reason why they're there. So I think their story is so important to get out there.
Absolutely. We have that in common. I have a special needs son as well. And so I definitely understand the IEP meetings, arguing. Well, I'm not going to say arguing with the doctor.
Argue. Just say it, argue.
Arguing with the doctors, getting them to understand that I am my child's advocate and what I say matters. So I definitely understand how that feels. So educational law, I heard you say that was your first choice. Would you ever consider going back now that you've been doing defense?
No. Because I think I would get like way too attached because of my son. Yeah. And when the school tells you no, you're like, what do you have to lose? Like yeah. What's the problem? Why are you telling me no? Like see, I'm getting mad now. So see, that's not gonna work because I'm gonna get all hype and then there's nobody around but me, the teacher, principal, and it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah. No, I completely get it. So how long have you been practicing law? How about that?
Since 2020.
Oh, it's okay. So, that explains it though, because Doug refers to you as the little sister in the courtroom. Yeah. So I can imagine that this was just like a big learning experience for you, right?
It was huge. I got all the trial experience ever. I know everybody's like, oh, she's just being quiet because she doesn't know. Like, no, it's because if you don't say his name, what do I need to say something for?
The math got a math. It has to math.
I feel like the only time I had to talk is when like a random people like, yeah, I do know him. From where, 40-year-old man? What are you talking about? And then I had to ask him questions, and it turns out, yeah, he didn't know him. Duh.
That is too funny. So, do you actually have siblings?
I'm only child.
Oh, so how did it feel being embraced that way by experienced attorneys?
I was actually kind of surprised. I thought they would be more cliquish or standoffish, like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, get away. I mean, I have my own team of attorneys that people don't know about. But you guys did get to meet her, Leah Bossy. She was one of the people helping me behind the scenes. And then there were several other, like, way more experienced attorneys who were helping me out with strategy, going over the case with me. So it wasn't always just me. It was always a team of attorneys behind him.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of confusion about how you became Lul Rod's attorney. Would you mind explaining that to the people to set the record straight?
Okay. I mean, I feel like everybody knows I said OnlyFans, but so somebody that I knew from way back when, they were basically begging for attorneys for this YSL case because apparently experienced attorneys knew that it was going to take a while. And initially they were only paying $1,500 to take the whole case. So who's going to do that? I even said no to that. I was like, 15? No. And then they upped it to 75, and they were like, well, you get your trial experience, I was like, okay, sure. They're like, he was already convicted. I was like, so why are we here? And so then, so I got appointed to his case. I got appointed to his case in November of 2022. Mm-hmm. So me and him first met in November 2022. Of course, I'm appointed, so it's not really a public defender. I have my own private practice, but basically the public defender's office had conflicts, so you get a private attorney to come in. So I was his private attorney that came in. But of course, since I was appointed to him, most people don't like public defenders. They're like, no, you're just going to take a plea. You're not going to do anything. So, of course, there was a little bit of hostility, which is fine. I'm used to it. But me and him built a beautiful relationship. And you got to know each other. I started reading his case because, of course, he didn't, hire me. So I don't know his case. He didn't tell me his story. Mm-hmm. So as I'm getting to know him, I'm also learning his case. So we had a contentious start, but that's okay. But after I got to know him, he's so smart. He's so smart. I just hate that Mariah the liar did what she did.
Yeah, I think we all do. So how do you take the time to get to know someone in a situation like this, right? Because I can imagine that it might have been difficult for him coming out of a situation where he had an attorney and it kind of turned out the way that it did, to getting another attorney, and now he has to go through another trial. Like, how did you overcome any obstacles on making the connection with him?
Like, I always told him from the get-go, I was like, look, based on what I'm seeing in this case, and I'm trying to go through everybody's stuff, and after a while, I was by myself, so I was like, I need somebody to tell me, hey, did you see my client in your stuff? Did you see my client in your stuff? They were like, no. I was like, okay, so this is going to be our strategy. We're not saying anything until it's your turn. I was like, because nobody knows you. Nobody has any interaction with you. I was like, do you even know these people? Because they're all grown. I feel like you were maybe 10 when all this stuff started. And he was like, not really. I was like, so what are we here for? And I think me and him just talking about, what are you here for? I think he realized, no, I'm not going to be one of those attorneys. No, you're taking a plea.
Yeah.
So I think when he realized I was really into his case and really I don't think you did this. What's going on? I think it really kind of changed everything.
Yeah. I can, as a person who I used to be a cheerleader and I used to connect with the younger kids, and it's sometimes finding that ground can be difficult, but when you build that trust through something just as simple as paying attention or just listening to whatever they have to say, things just become a lot easier. So I definitely understand that. I want to kind of shift back just a little bit again to get just your feelings around the Georgia RICO law itself. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Am I allowed to curse?
No.
Um, it's BS. I don't think state courts should do RICO. Clearly, they don't know how to prosecute it. They don't, because the whole time I'm looking at the case. Why is he here? Why is he here? A bunch of people there did not need to be there. People now have criminal convictions on their record that never had a criminal record for this RICO, just because they're like, let's just put a whole bunch of stuff in. Because it kind of borderlines on your First Amendment, because now you can't post on Instagram, you can't say certain things. I think they went too far. I think it should stay at the federal level, because I think they actually know what they're doing.
Mhm.
They don't just randomly collect people to just be like, you know what, we're just going to have like 50 of y'all and say it's RICO. Like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with the RICO law. I think Fulton County kind of showed why it needs to be out of the state's hand and it needs to just go to the federal. They know what they're doing.
I agree. I think we're seeing a lot of different RICO cases come about, and you can just kind of tell that the way that the cases are held at a federal level are completely different. And so I found it very interesting that this was a state RICO in itself, and just the way that it was being managed was crazy.
It was disgusting.
Very much so.
Oh, it was so disgusting. I was so disheartened because because you're in law school, like you learn like certain things in the criminal world. You're like, when would that ever happen? Here we are in 2024. You're like, really?
Yeah.
I just, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, I'm not in law school yet. I just took my LSAT on yesterday, but I will be in law school.
I'm so. I thought you were already there.
No, I'm not there yet. I will be there in the fall of 2025.
Yeah.
Trust and believe. So, wait a minute. I think I lost my place.
I'm so sorry. I talk a lot. I am so sorry.
No, it's okay because I should look down. Okay, so yeah, I'm not in law school yet. I just took my LSAT on yesterday. I think I did okay. So we'll see when I get my score back. But
you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're probably gonna learn about us in law school.
Well, I'm sure it won't be you though. Like I'll learn about other things, but I don't think it'll be you who I learn about.
Watch. They're gonna be like Bleach anime.
Well, yeah, because I you know what, I found that interesting because I do run across people who like anime. But I've never heard of an attorney using an anime reference in their opening statement. And then when I finally found your TikTok, like you're breaking down anime to a legal, in a legal way. So I found that to be very interesting, and it just really like opened up my eyes to know like there are many different layers to Miss D. Williams.
My nerd flag was all right there, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is Inuyasha in the back.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. One thing that I will say is that you have a very distinctive voice, right? And I do feel like you caught a little slack just because of it, right?
A little slack?
A lot.
Y'all were tearing me up.
They were. I'm a very small person and I look a lot younger than I am, okay? And so the challenges that I had as a kid, they kind of transition over into my adulthood. So my question to you is, how did you manage, or do you manage any adversity that you experienced just due to having a tender voice?
Oh, absolutely, because nobody ever expects me to think I'm doing anything seriously. So they don't think I know my cases. They don't think I know my case law. They think I know nothing. And then, surprise, I know my facts. So you're not going to run circles around me. I've already researched my law, so you're not going to run circles around me. And they're like, where did this come from? Because you see how quick they ran through his thing. I knew his case. They did not.
Yeah. I mean, it showed. And again, I'll try not to get into the YSL content because I do have the Avengers coming, and the Avengers will dig into it. But I do want to talk about representation because in your opening argument, you made a few points, right? You talked about one thing that we've already discussed 1% of that indictment related to your client, right? But you also talked about how 98% of the children that he went to school with, they actually received free lunch, right? And when we look at the legal field, Black people in general are underrepresented. There's only 13% of legal professionals are Black, and then less than 2% of those are Black females. And so I recall you saying something about how people become products of their environment and how your client mimic those around them. I just want to ask you, who are some legal figures that has inspired you from a legal perspective? I'm sorry, who are some Black figures that have inspired you from a legal perspective?
Honestly, that would be probably just my uncle. I mean, he's deceased. He's long deceased now, but he was the first African American dean at Ole Miss Law School,
Nice.
and he died of a heart attack, and they were able to prove that Ole Miss literally worked him to death because he was Black.
Wow.
Right, and that so one, I will never work too hard because that scared the hell out of me. I was really young when that happened, and I was like, "You can work to death?" Like that just blew my mind. I didn't know that was a thing.
Right.
And like I say, it was way, way, way back when. So he knew like Johnny Cochran. He knows like the Black attorneys that have the jets. Like he knows them. Like he knew them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was around those people whenever I go visit my uncle. But other than that, we don't really have that many people.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the point. So, what would you say to Black women, men, or just women in general, who are aspiring to be a part of the legal field? What advice would you give them?
We definitely need Black women. We really do. We need minorities just in general, because I know you don't want to talk about the trial, but like,
it's okay.
Watch me get canceled for this. Like, the fact that we stopped trial for a whole week plus, the judge stopped it. There was no reason. It basically forced a plea. So I completely understand why some people would want to take pleas, because it seemed like it wasn't going to get started until somebody took a plea. Mm-hmm. And I don't think maybe somebody of color would have done that, because it's almost like you're seeing the criminal justice system being used the way I guess it's supposed to, put Black men away. And even though people are out and they don't have to serve that long, they still have a conviction that might not have happened if they would have let the legal system do what it was supposed to do.
Right.
Or it should have been, I don't know, a mistrial. So, several of them, but I just think if they have more people of color who just don't want to sit at the table but actually want to shake the table, then you could do something.
Right.
And that would have never happened. I think half of those people that were in the indictment would have been like, no, we're not dismissed.
I like that. So what do you see as the biggest barrier for Black women or women in general entering the legal profession today?
Well, it's a little intimidating because usually in Fulton County, you see like, okay, there's a lot of Black people. Okay, cool. But as soon as you leave Fulton, we're not really out there like that. So it's a little intimidating. You don't know how people are going to react to you. When you go out to places where you pass like 30, 50 Confederate flags, you're walking into the courthouse where there's like a statue, you're like, how's this going to go? How is the judge going to receive me? Like, how are the prosecutors going to receive, like, how's this going to go? So it's intimidating, but you just have to know, like, 2%, we're unicorns, act like it.
Absolutely. We are unicorns, because I'll be on the other side of the bar one day. And there is another unicorn out in our world. Her name is Aran, and I'm actually going to bring Aran up because she is an attorney out in Miami, and she creates content. And when we're talking about representation, she's like she's one of the two Black creators that I know And so I definitely want to share this space with Arian and give her the floor to assist us in our interview today.
Okay. Oh yay! Not the unicorns. Unite.
Hi!
Oh my god.
Hey,
Hey.
girl, hey! Oh my
Right? Oh my god, I'm so
goodness!
excited.
I am so excited. I cannot. Girl, I'm not me fanning right now, though. Hold on. You see my blush? You see me blushing? It's so nice to meet you.
No, oh my god, the unicorns unite!
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
it's
Let's
like
do it.
little
I am
puppies.
so
Oh
excited to
my
meet you.
god! Sorry.
Literally, I'm so excited to meet you.
Oh, thank
First of
you.
all, girl, about congratulations. You did amazing. Honestly, now hearing, because I was listening before I just hopped on. Now I'm a baby attorney myself. I like to consider myself a baby attorney. I became a lawyer in 2017, and so I haven't been a lawyer much longer than you have. And hearing that you conquered this kind of trial this early in your career is obviously an opportunity of a lifetime, but you did amazing. You did amazing for your client. And if nobody, I'm sure people are telling you that, but if nobody else tells you, that's the first thing I want to say to you. You did an amazing job.
Thank you. Don't make me cry. Do not make me cry on this. Okay?
I'm already overly emotional. Please.
Like, don't do this.
No, you really did. I think your strategy was amazing. I could tell very early on the strategy was if they don't say his name, I'm not saying anything. And I thought that was amazing because why are we here? And I'm sure the jury was like, why is he here? And I love that. I loved it. Loved it.
God, it could make me cry.
So I wanted to ask you some questions if you don't mind.
Of course. Oh my
Okay.
god.
So also a new private attorney, like I started at the PD's office as well, just like you.
Okay.
And I have my own firm and I'm also conflict counsel part-time. But it's a little bit different for me. I work part-time for the state as well, like as conflict counsel for them. But I'm wondering now, this was what? 18 plus months of your life and career and firm. So my first question for you is, with well-deserved, but this newfound exposure that you have, like what are your plans as far as rebuilding and, marketing and, all that stuff, all the things?
Okay, so funny story. I started my law firm in March of 2022.
Okay.
And I received this case in November of 2022.
Wow.
So like I was slowly building it up and then it just crashed and burned.
Right.
So that's why I was getting like a little desperate, like, okay, like I know if I actually like leave him,
Mm-hmm.
nobody is going to take his case. Nobody wants to touch it. So I just screwed myself over, but I just needed to know that I was going to be a big part of justice. I was like, I can't just leave him because nobody's going to care. So trying to rebuild my firm, I'm kind of, I almost don't want to do felony criminal anymore after this.
Don't leave us.
I'm just so disheartened by like what I saw judges do, prosecutors do. I'm just like, what is this? This is not justice. This is kind of what I learned in school, but the stuff we learned in law school is like, things that you see in civil rights movement are like slavery. So you're like, okay, that makes sense. How are we in 2024 and it's still happening?
Girl, questions that need answers. Lord.
Right. So that I'm a little, and then after the election happened, I used to do immigration too.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think I'm going to start getting into some pro bono immigration work after the election. I don't know how much. But there's a particular subset of people that I'm concerned about. I'm in Miami, so I'm really concerned about Haitian people in Miami. So yeah, I'm not, but girl, we can talk on the back end about this. This is about you.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, cause immigration right now is taking a hard hit too, because I wasn't practicing when Trump was in office the first time, but from what I hear with other attorneys, like there's going to be mass deportations that don't even make sense. And so I'm just like,
Yeah. No, I definitely
Hitting the
understand.
wall.
I definitely understand. I ended up mixing in. I do some personal injury and civil rights work as well, and I think you just kind of got to, like you just have to. But I'm very excited to see next steps for you, because this is just like, talk about unicorns. This experience had to be like outrageously, I don't know, exciting for you. And then of course you sitting in there with all of these great attorneys. Being able to feed off their energy and them able to feed off your energy. I love the bond that y'all have built. Do you see yourself maybe like co-counseling on other cases with some of them?
I have been scared straight with this trial.
You like, no, I'm gone.
I will probably be doing personal injury. I have like 3 personal injury cases. Yay! I don't know. Like, I don't.
You'll be back.
And I kept telling them the same thing too. And all of them were like, no, we need you, because nobody else is that compassionate about people. And I'm like, y'all?
I definitely understand.
Right, just seeing the justice system, seeing the things that are happening, and I'm just like, this cannot be real life.
Yeah. I understand. I know the feeling. I think you'll be back. I think anybody with that kind of compassion, you will definitely be back. You probably just need a little break. It's fine. We'll give you a couple months and then we'll call you back. You'll be back. It's hard to stay away from. And I tried to it lasted for like 3 months, I swear. And I quit. And then I started my own firm. So you'll be back. I'll wait on it. I'm going to circle back. Back. I know you'll be back.
Then you get in a car accident, call me.
Hello, I know that's right. Well, one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about. So I was enamored with this case because it was one of the blackest trials I've ever watched, right? Like, everybody's black, black lady courtroom, black judge, black attorneys everywhere. So I was so excited. And then that quickly became like frustration and aggravation and anger and all that stuff. So I guess I have 2 questions. First, did you feel that kind of excitement? Like, first going in thinking like, wow, some of these things that I normally would have to deal with, I won't. And then once you realize you would, how did you feel at that point?
That was, I can't curse. It was mind-boggling. That was really, because I did see the prosecutors and I saw like Mr. Matthews, Mr. Adams, Mr. Partridge. I was like, oh, let's go.
Yes.
And then I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
Woo. And then just, especially like Madam DA, like the people who wrote this indictment, I'm like, you understand how rap music came about, right? Like, that's what they tell you about the neighborhood. They're letting people know this is what's happening in my neighborhood and it's not right. And to say that this is a conspiracy, like we're pretending we're not black, like, are we, like, I mean, I love K-pop and rock music, but I still know my history. So I feel like most people do as well. So I'm still baffled by this. I mean, I think I have PTSD.
I think we all might. We all might have a little bit. Honestly, it's almost like it had to be out of body for you too, but it was definitely like an out of body experience. Sorry,
because it's
of
like,
course my phone's ringing.
I wouldn't think you'd have to explain certain things in Fulton County. Like, I'm like, am I in South Georgia or something?
Yeah.
What is happening right now?
Yeah.
And
I had the same thoughts.
Right? And even with, but ADA Hilton, when she used to flow those lyrics, she listened to that music. Let's be real. Let's be real.
When it came out, I'm like, now Miss Hilton, you love this song.
Right? I was like, okay, let's give her a beat. Let's go.
Same. I'm like, girl, now I know you be right there listening.
Right. Like, I know you bump it at home. You probably have it in your car right now.
Same. Literally same. I'm like, this is outrageous. But yeah, so I was like, same feelings, like, oh, this excitement. Like, if there's going to be a trial about rap, this is the perfect place for it to be. Because, it's everybody's kind of in understanding. And then it went, oh, Lord. Anywho. But back to you specifically. So, what are your, and this is something that I kind of struggle with, future-wise, as far as your firm, do you see yourself like growing and hiring multiple and many attorneys? Do you want to stay small? Like, what do you imagine?
Well, before this trial, I imagined like maybe 2 other attorneys, because I did want to like get into personal injury anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought I have like maybe 3 or 4 like other employees.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to like stay small because I think when you get too big, you become out of touch. And of course, I like money because I like to survive, but I feel like there's a such thing as too much.
Right.
And so I just want enough to be able to pay all my employees at least like $100,000 each minimum.
Oh, not you sound just like me. I'm like, I gotta make sure these people get paid.
Right, like I want them to get paid. I don't want them to worry about bills. I want them to be like, yeah, like working for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just want them to like coming to work. You know,
Yeah.
Be passionate about what they do and not have to worry about, oh, if I miss a day, she's taking my check. No, things happen. It's fine.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why we need you on this side. Stay over here. Don't go. Don't go. Well, listen, do you plan on getting barred in any other states?
No. No.
Well, at some point, I'm gonna get barred in Georgia. So when I reach out, like, hey, you want to co-counsel? Don't act like you don't know me, girl.
It won't be criminal.
I can't. I'm circling back for real because we need you. We really do. This kind of passion is, people like the excitement of criminal law, but it's really hard to find people. And there are plenty of people that love, this work and love their clients. I'm not saying that, but a lot of people are obsessed with like the glitz and the glamour of like getting somebody off. But that kind of pure like passion that you can see when you talk about your client, that is kind of hard to find. So we love and appreciate everything that you did. He deserved passionate representation and he definitely got it with you. So, yeah, don't. But yeah, we definitely appreciate you. I could do this all night and I'm gonna wrap it up. But I'm gonna connect with you on another, like just on a lawyer girl level. Cause
oh my god, I would love that. Oh
yes,
my god.
When I meet another Black girl lawyer, we have to connect.
Unicorns, like it's legit unicorns. Every time I see you guys, I'm like, it's you.
Yes, literally.
Spider-Man thing. It's you.
Yes. So, but thank you for letting me talk your head off and ask you questions.
Of course.
Thank you, Arian.
You're welcome, favorite girl.
I looked in the comments and there were a couple comments that stood out and I want to give them to you both. So Missy Williams, the comment that I saw earlier today said that Lul Rod needed you. And I just want to say that I don't think any of us in this chat believe that anybody would have done right by him. And you were put in that place for that time. And that just kind of leads into Arian because I read someone say, walk in your purpose. And I don't know if that's something that you needed to hear or not, but just remember to keep your eye on the prize and don't give up.
Yes, ma'am. Aww. I know that's right. Not y'all taking us to church over here.
Right, you guys are about to make me cry. Like, oh my god.
Oh my goodness. I can't. Yes. But I appreciate you, Taylor. Thank you for sharing your platform. Let me know if you want me to like just stay and mute or
you're staying. Just mute.
Okay. All right. I'm muting.
Just mute.
I'm about to go get some water, so I'm gonna go off camera real quick too, but I'm here.
No worries. I mean,
right.
Like you said, this is gonna be a little bit about representation. And so we definitely gonna celebrate Black excellence, but I also want to celebrate just women in general. And so I do actually want to bring up so 39% of the legal field consists of women. So I do want to bring up our other attorneys who we talk and love every single day. Talk to and love. Well, I'm sorry, we love and talk to every single day. I can't even get my words out. I'm so excited right now.
Hello. Oh, not the women. Oh my god.
I'm missing Haley. Haley, where are you?
Who knows what Hallie's doing?
Okay, well, we'll wait for Haley, but we're just building our YSL Avenger team up as we go along. And we'll start with Miss Yates.
So, first I want to say you for coming on here. Taylor always does a phenomenal job with interviews. But you said you started practicing in 2020. I took the bar in 2020 as well.
Oh.
It was horrendous. And I'm actually a public defender in Georgia.
Oh, where?
So I will, if you're fine with me asking you after.
Okay.
But yes, I am a public defender here in Georgia. So
Your
I
boss
just
hates
wanted,
me. I'm just kidding. I said your boss hates me.
That's not my boss. But that was something that I 100% wanted to give you props for, was not only advocating for Rodelius, because you 1000% zealously advocated for him on every single level, but you advocated for yourself. And I think that, as a female attorney, is inspiring to so many people, even if they're non-lawyers, because it shows people that you can advocate for yourself. Even in a predominantly male and white field, you as a black female advocated for yourself and got more than a lot of people probably would have, because you fought for yourself.
Aww.
And so that is, to me, very inspiring. And so I just wanted to say congratulations on advocating for yourself, and to continue doing that. Because you do it for the one client that I saw, you did that through and through, regardless of what people said. And it seemed like you didn't take what people said on the internet. You stayed true to yourself. And that worked out for you, because you seem to know who you are. And everything that you did in the trial came off as you. And you weren't trying to be someone else or go with someone else's style. And it came across as very genuine.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you.
So, all of that being said, being for me, a younger attorney, did you have any feelings of, should I be here right now? Because there are times when I'm in courtrooms with attorneys who have been practicing for much, much longer, I'm like, am I second guessing what I know to be true? Like, I have done the work, I have researched, but this attorney who's been practicing 30 years is like, that idiot, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And I'm like, I know I'm right. Like, don't make me second guess. So did you ever have feelings like that in this trial?
All the time, because I wasn't talking, but I'm like, what am I supposed to talk about? And then, like, because my client only had the one charge of RICO, and it's like, what am I supposed to file? Like, what am I suppressing? And then, like, I kept hearing everybody else make arguments, and I was like, and I used to have to call people, like, am I really supposed to be, like, am I supposed to be doing something else? Because I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then, like, the team I had behind me, they were like, no, you're fine. Like, don't file your motions early because you don't want the state to tighten up. Like, you're going to wait. Like, just be patient. I'm like, okay, but they're tearing me up on the internet. And, you know, people are like, why is she talking? And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then, you know, if you're in Georgia, you hear about, like, the Bruce Harveys. I was you know about the Bill Daniels program. Mm-hmm. So one of my teachers was actually on the trial, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to be like, why is she here? She was literally just in this training in July.
And I had back surgery, so I knew I was having it. I couldn't apply. My coworker was in Bill Daniel. And so that's something that I'll probably apply for next year, but that's a different story. But I totally get that. And I think all of us up here at one point on a live or something had said, calm down.
Yes. Okay.
Calm down, because I think all of us at one point even said, what do you want her to do? Help me help you. Tell me what you want her to say. Right. I don't know. So.
Right. And then, like, even if you make an objection, there's like, what, 7, 8 other people. if I object, that might have been something you wanted to come in and I objected to it. So I just ruined your whole strategy. So I'm
Yeah.
not even going to do that because you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know what your client's strategy is. I know mine.
And that's everything that you said had a purpose. And it seemed like when you did say something, it made people look at you to be like, oh, well, when she says something, it seems to be important. So let me actually listen. But I will, like Arian, I could sit here and go on for hours. So I will pass it on. But thank you so, so much.
No, thank you. I love when public defenders are like, oh my God, we love you. I'm like, you do?
And I'm sitting over here in my own comments and people are like, public offender. And I'm like, what did you?
Right.
Literally in my own comments, all of them have been on one of my lives where I'm just like, huh. I'm like, I will interrupt someone. I'm like, hold on, I need to say my piece because if I don't say my piece, we're gonna have problems. So
Right. Because public defenders are amazing. They're some of the most compassionate people. But just like private attorneys, you might get some public defenders are like, I just want to plead. Okay, that you get that in private too, but you paid. So right.
anywho, I will pass it on to whoever's next. But thank you so much, and thank you, Taylor.
Absolutely. Hey, Star.
Hi. Yes, everybody is commenting. My boyfriend, who we now call YSL Bob, is trying to cook his dinner, and I promised him I will not be that long. So, he is a prosecutor, but he has been a fan of all of the work that everybody has done, and he is definitely team common sense. If you would like to take anything from that.
Okay.
Well, and just to build on a couple of things that Attorney Yates talked about, me as a person who was watching this, and I've done some videos about like the strategy and things behind that, I've kind of kept my commentary more to that. As I sat here and looked at the comments people were making about you, I was just like, I was becoming enraged on your behalf because I was like, do you not understand that when your whole point is that your client is not a part of this, that this is a strategy choice? It is strategic to keep your mouth shut. Have you seen how keeping your mouth constantly flapping has worked out for the other side? So, I said things when I could, but just, you ain't gonna reach everybody with that kind of information. So, I'm glad that you've now had this opportunity to speak your piece about that you had a plan. And the other thing, I made a video about this as well, but back when kind of everything was, people were realizing like your pay situation and how that was working, I made a video about that, like explaining just the like horrible injustice of how that was handled for you. And as much of a personal cost as it may have come for you, I do think it's put a light on a lot of people like to see how public defense is handled and how poorly people can be compensated. And yet still you made a choice to sit there. Because, I had people say like, well, why didn't you try and get out of this, whatever. There comes a point where you are in this, and like you said, you knew that you were the only person that was going to sit there and do this for him, and you can't just like leave a man behind. And that's really, you were put in a choice of like, I have to take a personal cost on this, or I have to represent this person who isn't going to be able to get counsel. So kudos to you for that. Here is a question, and I'm not sure how much of this you'll be able to like tell us, but like as far as working with the other attorneys, like how often were you guys kind of coming together and discussing like strategy? And because I know the state would give you guys like a list of witnesses for that week. Would y'all convene on that? Like, can you give us any insight into how that worked?
I mean, we all did talk with each other, but we kind of kept our strategy kind of like to ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it still is a RICO.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah.
all trying to distance ourselves from each other. And it was easy to distance myself from everybody because he was 10.
Well, also strategic in a way, yeah.
Right. So it was pretty easy. But I also quickly realized, I think during their opening, that we were there. So the prosecutors could be like, look at all these grown men. Look what they did to this young man. And it's like, those men weren't even in the neighborhood when he was really growing up. So
Yeah. Well, okay, if that's what your position is, then show me that relationship that allegedly existed. Like it's very twisted.
it is. Like, they were grasping for straws. It was such a miscarriage of justice. It was just so disgusting.
Well, and I guess to that end, like, I mean, how did you keep from just like losing your mind, like while you're sitting there watching it? Like, I would have needed many a coping strategies. Like, what were you? I would be burning up from the inside.
I mean, all the time. So, like, me and my client, we would like pass notes to each other. So we would talk about how ridiculous things were.
I mean, sometimes that's the only comfort you can get in a situation.
Right. And then, of course, everybody knows I love anime. So I was trying to get my client to like it. So I would be like, oh, look at this anime I just watched. Like, do you want to know about it? um, we would focus just on his case sometimes instead of like everybody else's because it was a bit overwhelming. It was a bit like, weren't you like 8 years old when this happened?
Well, in a way, it's like you were trying your own case within this case because, as specious as a lot of the RICO allegations for everybody else appear, it's not like they didn't know each other and there's not like a reason to think they're connected, but your client really was so separate from all of that.
Yeah, he really was. And then also, I mean, if I had a big like rapper, K-pop artist, I love K-pop, sorry, a rock artist, whatever, come from my neighborhood, I'm absolutely going to say his or her name every single time I can. I'm going to say their label every single time, be like, guess what neighborhood I'm from, y'all? Like, I'm going to do it every single time. Like, why wouldn't I? And especially for a younger generation who definitely grew up with social media, I mean, who knows? He could have made money from just Jeffrey Williams showing up one time on his Instagram. So why would it be ridiculous for him to keep saying like YSL? I mean, I would too. I say it now because why not?
Yeah, there just seems to be a total misunderstanding of how people attempt to utilize connections to things. Like, I just genuinely don't understand how the state does not see that.
Right,
So.
me neither. That's why I was very frustrated. So yeah, coping, anime, music, my client.
Well, and how cold was it? We all want to know.
Oh
Wait,
my God.
sorry. Wait on
Okay.
that one. Wait on that one. We're not gonna get to that one yet.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Okay, I was about to answer.
People want to know, but I guess I'll leave that scoop for somebody else. But anyway, enjoy your freedom of movement throughout the day, and I hope you feel more peaceful. So.
Yes. Thank you so much, and thank you for standing up for me because that pay thing took me out.
The number of people in my comments who had no idea that that's how that works, I was like, yeah. I mean, because I'm not a public defender, but I do court-appointed work, so it's something I struggle with as well. So
Right. You're right. Because if it was at least like I know I do a lot of stuff in Gwinnett for court appointed, and it's hourly. So that's a little bit different.
yeah, that's how my work is. You would have been making bank if this had occurred where I am, but that's just not how it played out. So
Exactly. That's why people are like, you should just take the 7,500 and then you could clout chase. Clout doesn't pay bills.
especially not for a year.
Right. So unfortunately, I need like real money. Not
Yeah,
clout.
yeah.
And then especially
Okay.
because I knew I wasn't going to be talking a lot, I was like, I'm not going to get anything from this because I'm not talking until like the end.
Well, yeah, you don't like the time for you to shine is very limited, despite the fact that you have to waste your entire life sitting there. So,
Exactly.
well, anyway, I will shut up, but it was so nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
All right, Hallie, you're up.
Oh my gosh, hi. I am in my robe. I just got home from work and immediately changed into my robe. So,
It
hi
looks
everybody.
comfy though.
It's super comfy. I'm pretty much always either in a suit or in my pajamas. So I just literally came home and got in my suit. I'm an attorney in Chicago and I do like you, I have contracts with a couple counties. I also do federal appointed work. So kind of a mix of everything. And like Stara said, I really appreciated your um just like shedding light on I just first of all, $55,000 is so offensive. It's offensive. And I was like outraged on your behalf. And I guess I would love to know if any, the other thing I was going to say, I also represent a lot of children. So Lul Rod obviously like really struck a chord in my heart. I've represented a lot of children who have been charged as adults. I have clients who got life sentences as children. I find the whole thing absolutely fucking disgusting. I think that we live in the most disgusting country on the planet because I cannot believe we live in a place that allows that.
No
Um,
cussing, Hallie.
oh, really? Is that?
I asked before too. We're not allowed to curse.
Oh, Well, I don't that you just got rid of like half of my vocabulary then. But
Right, exactly. I had to like
yeah.
pause a lot because I'm like, can't say that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think the way I had an opportunity to go to South Africa in the spring, and we met with some law students and some attorneys and law professors there, and we kind of went around as a group to like talk about our areas of practice and everything. And I actually had like a waiter at the hotel come up to me the next morning and was like, what do you mean children get life sentences in America? I was like, "Oh, you got time? Let's talk about." I mean, he was shocked. And one of the things that we actually like follow each other on Instagram now and all this stuff, but like one of the things was he was like, "It's so weird because, I grew up in a pretty impoverished neighborhood in South Africa, and we're always thinking of like America is like the gold standard for freedom and justice, and the fact that, and I was like, I hate to break it to you, but no, we literally send children to prison for life. It's disgusting. So I
Especially
really
if they're black.
appreciate yes, especially if they're brown and black, especially if they are of lower socioeconomic status. And, in Illinois, it depends on what county you grow up in. You
Mm.
30 miles across the road, you might not get charged as an adult. But if you live in a certain county, you're looking at the rest of your life. So I really appreciate that you were there for Lul Rod and that you fought for him. And I just personally, having sat with children in trials of that magnitude, I know how emotionally exhausting it is. So much more than when you represent an adult. So I just want to tell you, like, my heart really went out to you for that. And I hope that you took care of yourself during the trial and that you are, especially like, secondary trauma is real. PTSD is real. So I really hope, I know I saw that you were on a vacation. I hope that
Yeah.
you are like going to continue to take care of yourself. And I hope that people are beating down the door to pay you all the money in the world as
Aw.
your karmic payback for all the work you did for Lil Rod. But my question kind of relates to what Stara was talking about with like the payment. Did anybody from like the GACDL or the National Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys, like, did anybody come to your rescue in this situation, or was everyone just like figured out?
It was, well, why did you take the case? Justice?
Because a child needed an
Right.
attorney?
If I don't take this, from what I hear, I'm not sure if it's true, but from what I hear, if you have like a RICO charge and you're in prison, they keep you in lockdown until it's worked out. And if nobody was to take his case, he would be in lockdown indefinitely. When I met him, he was like, what, I think 18. So to be 18 and in
Still
lockdown,
a baby.
right, just indefinitely, like, that's going to do something to your mental psyche. There's no way he's going to be able to function. So when somebody actually is ready to go ahead and take it, how is he going to be? And I know there was a lot
That's
of hostility,
horrific.
right? Because I
That is
mean,
horrific.
I know of course, everybody knows he fired me, but I mean, but he was a kid. He was doing
He's a
what kids
child.
do.
Well,
Right,
and he's a child who is in a horrifically like he's already got an underdeveloped frontal lobe, and we know that children who have grown up in traumatic circumstances and have been exposed to violence, that further, like, he's an 18-year-old operating at a 15-year-old level probably at best. Like, of course he's going to act out and take it out on you. That's what
right.
that's what kids do.
And then, like, after I was, like I said, I was going deep into his case, I was like, some of this evidence doesn't make sense. So to know that if I left him, nobody else was probably going to do as deep of a dive as I did, because of course I visited the scene, I talked to people, um, and I don't think anybody else would have went to that level.
Right.
And I knew if I left, he was going to be screwed, and that's like, I mean, I was like, he's like a
He is a
baby.
baby. He's literally a baby.
Right.
Um
I cared about him. So I'm like, no, I'm not gonna leave you. Like, don't worry about it. I got you.
I really appreciate that. And I hope that somebody makes some changes to how Fulton County does things in these situations, because the way that you were not compensated is egregious. And I mean, it's a Sixth Amendment violation. It just
Right.
makes no sense to me.
Right. And then
So,
I did cancel my NACDL membership because I was like,
well,
really?
what do they do for you? I don't
Right.
blame
So
you.
And they were like, if you need payment options, I was like, first off, never mind. I said, screw off. I'm not going. I'm good. I'm good.
So everyone in the comments is asking when he fired you. So I think everyone wants
Oh,
the details of that.
so I came on in November. I think he tried to fire me in December.
Okay, so early on.
Right, like when he first met me, because of course he's like, "Do you even know my case?" No.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Well, I hope the best for Lil Rod, and I really hope that this I hope you're able to go forth and make $1 billion from from having your name out there, because you definitely earned it.
Oh, thank you so
And thanks
much.
for having me up here, guys.
In
Absolutely.
Jesus' name, let us all touch and agree.
Agreed. Miss Mel, you're up.
Hi, everybody. Hello. I don't get on TikTok live a lot because it doesn't work for me. So I hope it's not lagging. I'm in Memphis right now and it doesn't like me right now. So I hope it's not lagging. So I apologize if it is. But Taylor, thank you for having me up. Miss D. Williams, it is so awesome to meet you. And you are so right. You didn't say much. When I started watching the trial, I kept saying, I went back and I did watch some opening statements. So my first thing is, she must be a psychic because she said it was a circus, and it was indeed a circus in that opening statement. That's the first thing that I said. So not only was it a circus, I would, if you were, in a lot of my videos, I would say, and I know Taylor don't want to go into detail, but I'm going to say, not only does D. Williams have on a coat, today she wore gloves. So I was like, how cold is it in the courtroom? So I know we can't go into detail, but I took notes. I wanted to say that I didn't know much about Lul Rod before I started watching it, and I was hearing the little stuff on TikTok and things like that. And I want to say that when we went to his part of the trial, I'm so happy. Your cross, I said, my girl don't say much, but when she does talk, your cross said everything I wanted to say, because I must be a little green. I wasn't getting it at first until the second day of Miss Smith's testimony. I said, oh my God, this is not adding up. And then you got up there and I was screaming. I was on my videos like, yes, say that. So I want to say that was so amazing. And I could feel the passion. Like, we saw you taking a lot of notes. And then when you got up there, I was like, oh, my girl didn't come to play. You were like, you weren't in her face, but you were in her face. And I appreciated that because I could feel your passion through the screen. And Miss Abasi, oh, I mean, y'all were a great team. And I had two questions, Taylor. My first one is, I saw that you said you were licensed in 2020. You passed the bar in 2020, is that right?
I passed it in 2019,
Okay.
but
If you can. Oh, okay. So if you can answer this, because I don't know if you can. As a new attorney, what were you thinking during Brian Steele's whole content thing? Like, what was going through your head? Had you even heard that was possible? Had you ever seen something like that before?
Well, I have, but not to that extent. Not for that, because I was a public defender before. And even though before COVID hit, it was like maybe 3 or 4 months, I have seen attorneys go in for contempt. But it was never for that. So that terrified me. I was like, oh, and everybody was like, yeah, you're not a real attorney until you're in contempt. I was like, what? I was like, okay, so I have to go to jail? I was like, oh my God. I'm not going to survive. I'm too pretty. I'm not going to survive Rice Street. This isn't going to work. I was like, oh my God. And do you hear my voice? Oh my God. They will tear me up. I'm not built for that. And I was like, so if I want to continue doing this, I have to go to jail. It's like, oh my God. Like, Brian still had all the bar for him. Who's coming for me? So I don't have a relationship with the Supreme Court. I was going to be screwed. So yes, that terrified me. And I'm happy the camera did never pan to me, because the way my eyes were like, this is happening. I was like, this back and forth. I was like, oh my God. I was like, but please don't tell him who your person is. But oh my God, what is happening? I was freaking out.
I wasn't even in the courtroom. My jaw was on the floor the entire time. I said, when he took his tie off, I said, "Oh Lord, this is about to happen." When he said, "Put me in the cell with Thug," I said, okay, what's going on here? This cannot be real.
Oh my God. I told my client, I was like, I'm not going in the cell with you. So we need to figure something out. Like, I'll talk my stuff, but there is a limit. Because I am not going to jail.
I'm with you, baby. I'm too pretty to be going to jail. I'm with you. I don't want any parts of it. Keep me far away. Okay, and my other question was, if you had one word to describe your experience on the YSL trial, what would that one word be?
Ooh, that's a good one. One word. Like, I almost want to say it's amazing, but I don't think a word can describe it, because I don't think anybody would ever have this type of experience, especially like from the very beginning, and to see like all the different personalities, the different strategies, even the different clients. Like, I don't know. You got me. Where's Doug? He has a word for everything.
If we piggyback off that, do you think, from what you said, do you think that this experience made you a better lawyer because you've seen so much in this one trial? Do you think it made you better?
I want to say it did, but it scared me straight. Like, I don't want to do criminal like that anymore. Because I guess I've seen the worst of the worst. They're like, it can only go uphill from here. I'm like, but what if Gwinnett County is like, we're gonna do RICO like Fulton? Like, ooh. And then there's a bunch of people that were on this trial who they had their client before the RICO case came, and then they got pulled into the RICO. And I'm like, so I could just be taking a drug case and it's gonna turn into absolutely not. So it scared me straight. It made my eyes open that this is happening in 2024. This is not 1964 or 1924, but it feels like it.
I can see that. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions. I wish you nothing but blessings and peace. And I hope you get through what this trial has done to you, and it be an experience you can tell your grandchildren about someday. And thank you, Taylor, for having me. And hey, Chad. And hey, all the girls on the panel, too. Hey.
Miss Jefferson.
Did I do it? Okay, there it goes. Hello. I was going to say those are my two favorite. Everybody know me, Mouth Almighty, okay? That opening statement, this is a circus, and that walk off with that side eye. But then you held that for 1, 2, 3. When you counted on your fingers about them 6 years, listen, everybody knows I do live reactions, and that right there, I've been watching since day one. So the opening statement, when people would say, she doesn't say anything. What are you talking about? She's not doing anything. And I'm like, did you hear what she said in the beginning? Probably not, because the recusal caused a lot of eyes to come this way. But I was like, I told people, go back and watch the opening statements. Please. She predicted this. Okay. She said this was going to happen, and it's all come true. So I had two questions, but now since I've heard you talk to Attorney Aran and Mel and what you said, I got one statement and a question. The statement is, in 2021, my nephew came to live with me. He was 16 years old. My kids are now they're 4, and 5. They're 16 months apart. They're 4 and 6. I'm about to have 5 and 6-year-olds, 2 boys. I have never had a more, and I don't want to get emotional, I have never had a more effed up experience than to try to explain to my 16-year-old nephew why he can't walk in this neighborhood with a hoodie on, with his both AirPods in. Take one out, pull your hood down. He's got a mustache. His voice sounds like Barry White. I had to explain that even though he's a boy who loves anime and video games, that you fit the description.
Yep.
Now, that nephew is into anime and all those things, so we went to his graduation and things like that. But my godson threw rocks at the penitentiary. I mean, anything he could do, no matter what we said, no matter where we showed up. So when I saw Lul Rod, I saw Tori. I saw my godson, who I do these video calls with. So for you to sit there with that baby and literally through a TV all the way in Arizona, it looks like you're giving him the love that he did not get. I don't know what it was for you. I don't know. I'm just telling you what it looked like. That made me be able to not miss a phone call. That made me feel like there's a chance. So my statement is,
Cry.
and I'm going with Arian, you got to circle back, because you don't know whose future or purpose is tied to meeting you later on in the future. They need you. Do what you got to do now. PI, I heard that's big money. They weren't paying you. Get your money, okay? Get your coins. But when you can, there is a baby out there that needs you. They need you.
Making me cry. Oh my God.
Please, please. This is from me, layperson in tech, no legal bone. I just watched trials. But from me, I'm skipping a question. Arian, please circle back. Nobody would have ever done for that baby what you sat there and did. And so my question is, the one that I will keep, is how? Everybody else is sitting there with 30-year-old men. When they have a bad day, or they see Brian Steele, or they see an attorney about to go to jail, or they see somebody lying, kids don't react the way grown men do. How did you keep Lul Rod morale? He went through some things during trial. We heard it. We heard the screams. We heard what was happening. Like, how did you do it? I don't know what angel dust you are made of, but how did you do it?
Oh my gosh. Thanks for making me cry. I mean, he is a child. So, of course, children have tantrums. But I also remembered he is a child. So I knew not to take things personal. I would still do things for him, even though I'd be like, should I? But I'm like, well, yeah, because nobody else would. Nobody else is going to. The way my parents raised me, I mean, you probably heard about my uncle, like from young. I've always learned, like, you always have to help somebody because you never know. And I just knew, being in Georgia, seeing the evidence, seeing how the prosecutors were acting, seeing how the judge was acting, I was like, if I walk away from this, or if I have a messed up attitude with him, why would he even try to do better? Nobody. I mean, it's basically showing, like, the first trial, we saw how Mariah the liar was. So the first time the justice system failed him. Now he's in the second trial where he's a RICO, and he doesn't even need to be there. So now he's in a second trial where the justice system is failing him. So I'm not going to fail him. That was my whole thing. I'm not going to fail him. Everybody else already has. I'm not going to. Not in the legal community. I'm not going to. His first attorney was not crap. I'm just going to put that out there. His first attorney in the trial was amazing. But we see how Mariah the liar was. And I was actually, because we saw all those other things happening in the other acts and counts or whatever, people know that even if nobody's home, APD is going to show up and take a report of a drive-by shooting. So was your house really shot multiple times? But in the first trial, I mean, all they have is her saying, they shot up my house. And what do you do from that? So I get it. I get it, but it's unfortunate. That's the only reason, though, because I just knew.
I just
Sorry,
think
Ms. Williams, I hate to interject. There are no police reports from that?
No, because it didn't happen. And we saw how we saw, like, what, somebody's house got shot up and nobody was there, but the cops were still called. We saw people get dragged into from their home to jail to testify about 2 bullets being in their home, and we don't have a shooter. But her house got shot up multiple times. Okay, Mariah the liar, keep it up.
Well, but just to interject myself, doesn't that mean it was riddled with bullets?
riddled, that means it was riddled.
But if it was riddled with bullets, there would be at least one.
That you know what? Extremely fair point. Yes, extremely fair point.
And that's why the prosecutors were like, "Oh, let's show them these bullets," because they weren't there. And she got locked in her basement, and they weren't like, "Let's throw in some charges of false imprisonment and maybe some kidnapping." Oh my god, because she was lying.
The
She found a random cell phone in a random
with the
basement.
phone with no lock on it. Where she
Right,
called
and
her
the
mom
police were
and
already
police.
at their parents' house, but
When
how
she
did they
called
know
her
to go there?
She called her grandma and her mom, but when she
Both.
called her mom, the cops were already there.
Well, is it because you set somebody up to be killed?
That's exactly what this is. I'll say it. That's exactly what that is. Well, all I'm going to say is I pray the best for his situation. I really do. For the beginning of this trial, I said, why is that little boy in there with those grown men? Why is he in there? Why is he in there? Why is he in there? But at this point, I thank God that he was in there, because had his life not happened on the trajectory that it did, he would have never came across you. He would never came across where the state played out his appeal for him. This would have never happened for him. They would have just let him keep going on the wrong path until he just finally did enough. And like I tell my godson all the time, they let you F up while you're young, because at that point, you're not an asset. You're a liability. They got to pay for you to get an education. They got to pay for you to do things. They have to pay to take care of you. They have to make sure you're okay. Once you become an asset and you can begin to work for them, then at that point, there's no more mommy coming to pick you up. There's no more breaking curfew. And he literally pulled that. I'm talking about juvenile life, 15 to right before he turned 19, got shot up at 19, and he was back in there by 21. Okay, like when I say don't believe fat meat greasy till now, Mama T, I should have listened. Ain't no shoulda, coulda, woulda now, buddy.
Right.
Like, what you want me to do? I can answer the phone. I can send a couple dollars. I can. What do you want me to do with this now? So I have him watching this trial as much as he can. I update him on this trial. I'm letting him know, you wanted to run with these big guys and stuff like that, this would have happened to you. Mm-hmm. But had he had somebody that just wasn't going to sit there and say, oh, well, they said you were this and that. It was 3 of y'all in the car. So they're going to put the pum-pum on everybody. So you might as well just sign this. Had he had somebody sit there and say, listen, these are 30-year-old men. He's a 16, 17-year-old boy. What is going on here? Maybe something would have finally went through his head. At this point, I pray that everything that you came across as, everything you exuded on the TV has resonated in Lul Rod's soul. And I pray that even if that baby go do something crazy again, which I don't ever believe it'll be this crazy, but even if he ends up in another situation, he might pop off, but he gonna remember you. Even if it's an anime, even if it's a cartoon, he might pop. He's a kid. He might pop off. He's been in some situations. They literally put a kid in the jungle and expect him not to act as such. He has to survive. So when they act like, oh, he's doing this in the jail, he has to survive. He's in there with grown men and dealing with some big boy charges, okay? He can't be a baby in there. Mm-hmm. So I pray that when he gets out, that everything that you attempted to implant in him, I pray that seed was sowed. And I thank you.
I hope so too, because I hope so. I think seeing this trial, seeing how the state was grasping for straws for everything, I think he learned some things too. I think he learned how they could just create fiction. I mean, we saw how Hogan investigated. My client was maybe a little bit taller than me, but the description was tall. Okay. I would never call my client tall, ever. Never. I would be like, he's small and tiny. I would never say he was tall and be like, you know what? That's him. Let's go get him.
Thank you, Miss Jefferson. I know we're over time. I only promised to hold you for an hour, but I promise we're wrapping up. I'm going to go to Yo-Yo real quick before we close it out. Hey, Yo-Yo.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Taylor. Attorney D. Williams, I'm so excited to talk to you. Number one, I'm a Fulton County resident. I'm probably right up the street for wherever you are right now, but I'm also a law student at Tulane Law. I'm earning my MJD in the labor and employment law space, and I've been a labor and employment law professional for upwards of 10 years now. So if you're looking to jump to another side in the law space, hit me up. All for it. I think it takes us in every space, having our voices at every table to bring representation and just our voices where it matters most to people that look like us. So thank you for the work that you've done. I had 2 questions for you, and then I'm gonna get out the way. I took one question from one of my followers that I want to ask. They asked about the moment when you really cracked that code. Like, Lul Rod was already sentenced to life for what we saw to be a investigation that was all jacked up. That moment when you really cracked the code and, you know, really got to stand in front of a room full of people and a worldwide audience and say, I cracked it. We don't know that we got the right answers here. In that moment, you were really holding the investigators accountable, the state accountable. Like, kind of walk us through what you were thinking in that moment, and then watching Brian Steele kind of advocate this before the state Supreme Court, like, kind of bring us full circle in that moment for you.
Like when I realized that my client didn't do it?
Yes, all of it. And then when you brought it and you clocked them on that T, like all of it, full circle.
So I met my client like in person, like in December. And that's when I got all the discovery. I didn't realize it was going to be that much discovery. I was like, oh my God. But I was going through the statements of the victims, the ones who like survived. And they were saying, both of them said it was a tall guy with dreads to his bicep. It was just one shooter. And I kept looking at my client. I was like,
that ain't you.
Right. I was like, yeah, I was like, what was your hair like back? I used to get asked you so many random questions. Like, what was your hair like back then? Like, has anybody ever called you tall? Like, who are you hanging out with? Maybe you're hanging out with a bunch of little people, so you seem tall. Like, what's going on? And I used to ask him some weird questions. And then I went to the scene too, and I remember the Mariah the Liar's testimony. I was like, wait, if this shooting happened here, where they say it happened, that means she would have ran through 3 breezeways after she met some dude she doesn't know, didn't go to his house to flee from bullets, ran to an open park where the shooting was taking place to get closer? What?
Right.
And then I read the trial transcript and I was like, who is this Brazy girl? I was like, oh, you didn't do this. And he was like, I keep trying to tell people. I was like, I mean, you probably have a hostile attitude towards public defenders. I get it. I know people do that. So you probably weren't being forthcoming. I get that. But I had the privilege of being able to have like his only just that as part of his RICO. So I was able to go in and dissect it, really go through it, ask him, because, you know, usually when you're an attorney, you don't have your client with you every single day for like 2 years. So I get to ask him questions as I'm going through it, like, wait, did you even know her? Did you know him? How long did you know? I'm going through your Instagram. I don't even see any messages between y'all 3 until like what is going on? And so once I realized for sure, like, he did not do it, I was like, oh, I have a strategy. And I told him, I was like, I have a strategy. We're not saying anything. We're going to be quiet. I'm going to talk my stuff in my opening. I'm going to let them know what this is. And when we get Mariah the Liar on the stand, I'm going to light her up.
I wanted to know about that moment. Like, you know, when you inside the huddle, you like, what was the team thinking? And is there more insight that you are able to share about that moment when you and Attorney Abbasi came together on that common knowledge of like, no, we about to ride for our client. Like, this is not what the state is saying isn't what happened. What was that moment for the two of you together when you came together on that knowledge?
Well, so Miss Abbasi, she was always on the team, like, but a lot of people had been helping me because they knew I was a newer attorney. And he had an all-women crew. He doesn't even know, but it was all-women crew. And they used to always help me in different ways. And then finally, Miss Abasi was like, "You want me to jump on the trial?" I was like, "You'll jump on the trial?" I was like, "Oh my God, that would be so perfect." I was like, because I can handle, because I had a lot more witnesses to go, but we're not even gonna get into that. But I had a lot more witnesses to go, but she was gonna take the lead investigator, and I was gonna take all the lay witnesses and the gang expert, and we were gonna light into them because they were gonna lower their guard because I have a nice voice. I'm not gonna yell. I'm not gonna go tit for tat with you. I'm just gonna get the information that I need. But Leah Abbasi, she's going tit for tat. So we matched it up with the personalities because we knew like the officer was gonna be kind of like a cowboy. And she was gonna rein him in and it was gonna be great. And I was like, I cannot wait to watch this.
We needed that woman power today. Thank you for giving us that moment of, yes, women coming together in this collective effort. I love it.
Yes.
So my last question, so I can give this back to Taylor. As someone that lives in Atlanta, in Fulton County, I would be remiss if I did not ask. We've seen everybody talking about this community. We need to vote certain people out. We need to do certain things. What would you say your call to action is for your community right in Fulton County, right in Atlanta? The election has now ended. We see the results when it comes to certain positions. So what would you say your call to action is for your community and people that want to support this community?
Honestly, I was a little disheartened when we were going through jury selection because there were so many people of color, all different shades, who want to get out of jury duty. And they had the jobs that would pay them. And as a juror, you have more power than the judge, more power than the prosecutor, more power than anybody in that courtroom. So if you have an officer like Detective Hogan who is like, I don't really want to do any police work. I know this person has a ton of guns, but I'm not going to do a search warrant. For what? Why are we going to look for a weapon? I could just make something up and you're going to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Squirrel brain.
Right. Just like what he said. Right. Right. So if you know that you could get away with it, you could get people locked up and certain jurors are not going to come in. They're not going to hold anybody accountable. Why would you change? And you're sending a message to the DA. You keep letting people go because you're like, that doesn't really make sense, or I don't see enough evidence. The DA is going to be like, whoa. We need y'all to actually, investigate. There are probably a ton of people in jail right now because of Detective Hogan, because he made up some story and went with it, and a juror was like, I just want to go home, guilty. So being a juror is like one of the biggest things. They have the most power.
Your insight for the community. And that, I think the message you just gave is for anybody that gets that jury duty notice, wherever you are, knowing how much weight your voice carries and your presence carries in that moment. So thank you for connecting with us. And Taylor, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I cannot do this without y'all. Like, y'all were the panel for a reason. Like, everybody up here was selected for a specific reason, and y'all always deliver. So thank you for always supporting me when we have our special guests and showing out, because y'all questions be it, y'all statements be it. So thank you. Misty Williams, everybody, we started the interview talking about where you was at, and you was out on that yacht. Was you on a yacht or was you on a cruise? You was on the boat.
I wish it was a yacht.
I was looking for you on my cruise, Misty Williams.
I got paid $5,000, not $50,000 a month. It was not a yacht, I promise. Okay. And it was not a suite either.
Okay, you were on a cruise, but there was a very emotional moment where Miss Abasi had the opportunity to tell us who Lul Rod was, and you didn't get to do that yourself. So right now, tell us, who is Lul Rod?
Oh, yeah, I get to do it. Okay. So if I was there, I would have been like, so this is my client, Rodagis Ryan. Everybody knows him affectionately as Lul Rod. He is not a product of his environment per se. He has a mother that loves him. He has a big brother that loves him. His dad almost wanted to fight me before because he was like, you're not going to represent my son. It was great. But just sitting with him, he's been the justice system has failed him twice. Judge failed him by forcing him to take a plea. Even though it's like, okay, well, he went back to prison, but still holding him for a full week and a half, not knowing when he was going to be able to resume court. That's kind of sad that he has more freedom in prison to be able to talk to his family, be able to eat when he wants to, not be in a freezing cold room. And the only reason he would take this plea is because he's tired, and I understand. He's waking up early in the morning. He's getting transported. He has this, because you guys can't see it, but he has this thing on his leg, like a brace, that he can barely really walk on. He was working on his GED while we were in the courtroom. He just wants to make himself better for the future. We had a plan, and our plan was to show the world that Mariah is a liar. He should not be in prison. He was wrongfully convicted. The jury got it wrong. And I just know that once his appeal goes through and he has a new trial and everybody now knows Mariah is a liar, he's going to do great things. I really think he's going to do great things. He'll need a different environment. I'm hoping that there's counseling available for him, because if you go to prison at 15, nobody's going to come out normal. That's not possible. So I just hope that there are services set up for him so he can better himself. He told me he wanted to be a lawyer. I told him if that's the case, like, hopefully I have a law firm. I don't know. It might crash and burn. We'll see. But he could come work for me. That's fine. Let's do it.
Thank you. I know a lot of people are asking about his appeal. Is there anything you can share with us as far as like the status or who is representing him?
Oh, so it's a public defender, but I will say this. His appeals attorney, public defender, is the one who went through every single message, and he's the one who actually found that one of the victims shot back. So, clock that. So he's being represented by an amazing attorney. I don't know if he wants me to say his name, so I'll just say he's a public defender, but he's amazing. He wrote the brief. He's ready to argue it. Like I said, Ryan's attorney, his first attorney in his trial was not an incompetent attorney or anything. So it's not going to be like an incompetent thing or anything. It's mainly going to be the prosecutors are playing dirty. It's Fulton County. And they said some things that they shouldn't have said. I really think it's going to go through. And then when he has another trial, I do think he's going to need probably a private attorney, because they're going to have to go through all the stuff I went through, but they really need to go through it. Don't just skim it. They need to actually go through it. And I really think he'll be successful on his next trial. I really do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
May I ask Taylor, I'm just curious, Attorney D. Williams, if you got to see some of Brian Steele's argument to the Georgia Supreme Court, if you had any initial thoughts from watching the justices' questions and reactions, were there any kind of initial thoughts, feelings you had?
Of course I watched it. I mean, we're basically a family. Of course I'm going to watch it. Yeah, I watched it and I was like, now he was listening and now he knows what this is about. But then, yeah, just him saying how the state was playing dirty, because they were. I mean, they were saying things that they shouldn't have said, because it's not on us to prove your case. You have to prove the case. And so right. I think, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I'm thinking after coming from this YSL thing and then jumping into that, I think he was also disheartened about how bad it was, because I don't think anybody realized how bad Detective Hogan really was. Like, that's awful that you were like, did you go back to the seat? No. What? So somebody found bullets like 5-6 hours later. You didn't think it might be like important to go back? You don't think it might be important to find out who Mariah the liar was talking to, because that person had been the shooter? Oh, you don't want to because Mariah gave you 2 names. You were like 2 shooters. So I think Brian, I used to have my little tangents in our little break room, and Brian used to catch those all the time. And so I think he caught some of my emotional attachment to this, I think, because he was pretty emotional there too for Mr. Blaylock.
Well, and just to interject, sorry, Taylor, I watched Brian Steele's appellate argument, and like, you know, we've all seen so many like screwed up things go on in this trial, but like the Fifth Amendment stuff there, like that's not a mistake you usually see made. Like that, the way that went down is truly shocking to me in a way that like, I cannot believe that it happened. Like I genuinely cannot. Like messed up stuff happens all the time, but there are certain kind of really crazy things that like are just so beyond the pale, and that is one of them. I just couldn't believe it.
When I read the transcript, I was like, no, this isn't happening. She's going to do a mistrial. I was like, well, obviously not a mistrial because he's here. And I was like, oh, they let this happen.
Yeah, you forgot you knew the ending of the story.
I did. And then I was like, okay. I was like, oh, your appeal is going to go through. Because even if it's not the Fifth Amendment issue, it's definitely... what was it?
Not the comment on silence. Was it the burden shifting? There was like two big ones.
It was the burden shifting too. Because I was like, so no, because the prosecutor was like, why didn't I want to know the answer? Why they didn't do? I was like, what? I was like, oh my god, oh my god.
My jaw when Brian was arguing, I was like, this is actually what happened. Like I haven't read the brief, but
same. But when the prosecutor, I was expecting, a lot of times in appeals, you'll get the response from the prosecutor and they paint a different factual picture. He wasn't, though. He was just trying to argue against why what Brian Steele said wasn't legally improper. And I'm like, wait, so you're not even going to dispute the facts? Like, it just...
Right.
I mean, they didn't do it.
He did a Hogan. He did a Hogan.
They had nothing. The state had nothing to work with on those issues. Like,
no, he was like, I don't. I'm like, I almost felt bad for him.
And it's not.
I mean, he got a bad deal having to argue that.
But it's not like even it was just one thing. It was two giant things. Like if one of those things even happened, that's horrendous. But the fact that two of those things happened, and the trial still went through, especially when someone is facing life.
Yep.
Right. Oh, because they gave a curative instruction.
How were you? The instruction was wrong. The instruction was bad.
Oh my god! Yes, I watched that part. I mean, that is not a thing. That curative instruction, like,
I don't know, y'all.
And most judges I know would be like, no, we're calling it a day here. Like that.
A case where a life sentence is the only option. Your choices are life or LWOP.
Yep.
That's like when those are your options. What?
And there's plenty of attorneys on here, so I want to understand, this isn't the first time that Hogan has been on the stand. So the fact that they called him back to do a repeat appearance of the same chaos, are you trying to punish yourself? Are you not learning the lesson? They say a hard head make a soft behind, and the behind is very soft because is there a reason why he had to reappear? I was very baffled by...
He was the lead investigator.
It seemed like they didn't have an option. There was nobody else that could testify.
He was the lead investigator. But the crazy thing was, when he walked in, I didn't know what had happened. I knew the state's kind of theory on what they said happened. I hadn't seen a video or nothing. So we've been calling him Bad Santa.
That's too nice for him.
Bad Santa, because he looked like Kris Kringle when he walked in there. Because the first time I said, "Oh, here come this motherfucking ruining Christmas, looking like Santa." This is my time of year, okay? I'm one of those people who believe that Thanksgiving is a holiday within Christmas. So I'm one of those people.
I just put on my Christmas mug, so I'm with you.
Every time I see him now, I'm not so jolly Santa.
Listen, when I seen him, I said, "Not guilty." Y'all know my mouth. I was not guilty. Not guilty. He ain't deuced. We know what happened with Lul Rod. You know, I'm over here going off the way y'all know I go off. I didn't even care about the video. I didn't care who he was going to call. He could have had all his reports in order, which he didn't. Didn't. Like, how somebody is unalived on the 14th, you don't see a video for yourself, get a FedEx employee's email to tell you what might be on the video for the 16th, take out a warrant, and start your report on the 20th.
Right.
I just don't like how he comes in.
I didn't know all that timeline. Like, oh god.
Yeah, but the way that he comes in and clutches his hat at his stomach stresses me out. I don't know if it's an emotional support hat, but it freaks me out. I don't like it. I don't. And I don't know why I don't like it, but it's just the
It's
way
also
that he,
bad hat etiquette.
but the way
You're
that
not
he,
supposed to. They say you're supposed to leave your hat up because otherwise you
yeah,
pour your luck out.
it's just the way
I
that
can
he
tell you what it
I
is.
mean, I think
It's
we're
given,
seeing.
I'm the sheriff in this town, and you weren't the sheriff of your own investigation or this town. So leave the
like
hats.
it.
Investigation.
Well,
After
But you
today,
see, it works though.
What's
It's
that
been
little
working.
cartoon where the sheriff wore the little y'all know who I'm talking about?
The little short sheriff with the big belly. I
The
know
short
exactly.
sheriff with the big, yeah, cartoon.
Yosemite Sam.
That's
Yosemite
it.
Sam,
Sir,
that's it.
you're not giving Yosemite Sam. You need to pack it up.
I mean, he thinks he's a cowboy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been working. He just shows up. The jury likes him, and then they get a guilty. So it's like, come on, keep doing your your half-baked investigations.
Abasi had him down so bad, he was just like, no, you're right, I didn't.
I would find everyone
Yes, I
not
did.
guilty just because he wears a bolo tie.
I am so bolo ties make me very
Again, I don't like that
Again,
either. That
and it's
also
an ugly
freaks me
bolo
out.
tie. It's not even a nice bolo tie.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid looking.
It is. It's like how they like him. And I don't even understand.
Sorry, Taylor. Sorry.
I know you need to mute all of us.
Oh.
It's okay. Speaking of infamous clothes, the jacket will go down in history. Okay, I don't know if you
I love a good house too.
accept that or not, but the jacket, the gloves will go down in history. Which brings us to our next segment of what is colder than the courtroom. I will give you a list of items.
Nothing.
And I will give you a list of items, and you can say the courtroom or the item that I mentioned. Are you ready?
Taylor, this is so good.
Arctic winds,
Courtroom.
an iceberg,
Courtroom.
cold metal,
What?
cold metal,
Courtroom.
winter nights,
I'll go with a winter night because I think I would get frostbite.
that was the next one, frostbite.
If I could have worn a hat, I would have worn a hat too in the courtroom. It was so cold.
Freezing rain,
Oh, the courtroom.
ice cream,
Oh, that sounds jolly. The courtroom.
ladies and gentlemen, the courtroom was cold. Okay, it was cold in the courtroom.
So cold. My fingers used to prune in the courtroom. Right. That's why I started doing gloves, and then I had to like put my little mittens on, wait for like 5 minutes, and take them off and continue typing.
That is crazy. That is crazy. But I do want to leave with this, right? Too many times are we judged by characteristics that are merely a brushstroke of the paint to the picture of our lives. The sacrifices go unnoticed. The commitment and dedication it takes to stand firm in the face of adversity will always be appreciated, recognized on my platform. When we watched this case, we saw a lot of behaviors that we found disgusting. It is difficult for us to be in rooms, and when we are in them, we are held to a higher standard. And some standards are just ones that people should just not cross at all. And so I want you to actually take a look in the comments because my loyal TikTok followers have something for you.
Oh, I see unicorns.
So right now, everybody is giving you flowers.
Oh, I see all the flowers too. You guys are gonna make me. I didn't know I was coming on here to cry. Oh my gosh! Oh God, you guys are really gonna do this. Oh, variety of flowers. Oh, not the hearts. Oh, that is so cute. Oh my God.
I want to thank you so much for coming on our platform. Nothing that you did went unnoticed. We appreciate you. We hope that you continue to do defense work, but we know whatever space in the law field that you choose to go into, you're going to be great. So thank you again for showing up for us. Thank you to my lovely panel of YSL Avengers.
Thank you. You guys are amazing too. I love that it's all women. Like, oh my gosh.
We had a guy, but I don't know why he didn't come up. So
It was probably scared.
Best he didn't.
Right? The girl power is girl powering right now, so it's okay. Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you for having me oh my God, thank you so much, Miss Umbridge. This is amazing.
absolutely, thank you again for showing up. I hope you guys have a good night.
Have a good night. Good night, y'all.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.